a lot to get to today, so let's just dive right into it, man. Joker is here.
Yes.
Wow. So we heard about this movie about a year ago, right? A little bit over a year ago?
A little bit over a year ago. It's actually a really fast turnaround.
It was, man. I feel like they started talking about this like last summer. It was, making a lot of news, and they were just, getting into production really fast. We were hearing about the casting news, and here we are, October 2019. It's finally out there in the world. And obviously there's a lot of controversy around the movie that's, sort of been leading up to the premiere. A lot of different things that people have, sort of dissected with the subject matter of the film. But we saw it.
Indeed.
We saw it last week. We saw it twice,
2
Thursday and Friday. And
2 black nerd, 2 times. I don't know.
Right. I mean, we might.
2 times, 2 black.
We might go see it again.
Yeah, we might have to go see that thing one more time.
Yeah, I think
it was.
I think we both kind of feel the same in that regard. It was it was something else. So it might be a third viewing in the future really soon. But let's just give a little bit of brief background about the movie. So it came out. Actually, it premiered a few weeks ago. The festival, season sort of kicked off. Venice Film Festival kicked off. Toronto International Film Festival kicked off, and the movie premiered at both of those festivals. And when it initially premiered, man, I know you and I were both on social, and we saw just the incredible word of mouth that was out there about the movie.
We're talking about standing ovations.
Yeah,
at the end of this film,
8-9 minute standing ovations. I mean, people were calling it a masterpiece. They were calling it game changing. This is new territory for comic book movies. I mean, we heard all of the positive feedback, so my excitement was through the roof.
Yeah.
But if you go on Rotten Tomatoes right now at this moment, I think as recently as of today, I think it's sitting at a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's the critic score. Now, there's a difference on Rotten Tomatoes between a critic score and an audience score. We'll get to the audience score in a second, but 69%, man, that's it's still a good score. It's not bad by any means. It's still considered fresh, but it's not quite as high as I thought it would be after what we heard from the film festival, sort of circuit, the initial reactions. Why do you think it's sitting at 69%, man, after these past few weeks?
So I actually think it's 2 reasons. One, I think a lot of critics don't necessarily critic correctly, because a lot of critics come into certain movies and films having a preconceived notion about the film already.
Okay.
In certain ways where if I'm a critic and Joker is this character that's been around for
80 years?
At least 80 years.
Yeah.
80 years, and I kind of already know what I want this movie to be. When I watch the movie, there's certain things in the movie that I'm going to grasp onto that will kind of serve my preconceived notion, my thoughts already.
Gotcha.
And so I think some critics watch the movie and say, yep, that's exactly what I thought it was going to be. And that's why I don't think this movie is as good as I thought it was going to be, kind of type thing, or as other people thought it was going to be.
That's a good point. I feel like that happens a lot with comic book movies.
Yeah.
Because there's so much source material. There's so many comic books. There's, literally we're talking 80, 90, 100 years of comic book history, so there's a lot to pull from, and I feel like sometimes just what people expect versus what they actually get, there could be a bit of a imbalance there, and people might be they might end up disappointed for whatever reason. But I do think it's interesting, 69%, considering where it was initially when we first heard about it, those first reviews. But on the flip side, though, I mean, you look at a completely different story with the audience score at 91%. Which is incredible.
It is amazing.
That is really, really damn good.
Yeah,
like
I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of impressive too.
Yeah.
Like, just because I know I've been seeing how people think about movies as of recently, and that is just actually coming as a little surprise.
That's a good point.
Like, y'all really like this?
Yeah, that's a good. I do feel like people are a little bit more critical of movies nowadays, and so to get such a strong score is not an easy thing. So when you have such praise from the audience, I think that's really good verification that your film is doing something right.
Yeah.
And that most people are liking it. And then, I mean, the scores for this movie are kind of all over the place. If you go to Cinema Score, that's at a B+. Now, you hear B+, you're like, that's a good score. B+ is great.
I mean, Cinema Score, that's actually kind of wild.
That's actually, crazy, right? But the history of Cinema Score is kind of interesting in just how films are judged. I mean, if you look at a lot of big blockbuster movies that come out each and every year, they're typically getting A's.
Yeah.
They're getting A pluses, A's, A minuses.
Yeah.
Hobbs and Shaw has an A minus.
That is what?
And Joker has a B plus. I don't know how. I don't know why, but why is that the case? Because CinemaScore is also a verified platform. People, they get these cards when they come out of the theater and they rate the movie with their score. So this is from people who have actually seen the movie. I've had CinemaScore at a few showings that I've been to. So it's the real deal. Why do you think a B plus, which, you know, again, is a good score, but lower than Hobbs and Shaw?
Yeah, I think it's the way people enjoy movies nowadays, specifically tied to their attention span, where a lot of people like really fast pacing in movies nowadays. I do believe Hobbs and Shaw was a movie of pretty good pacing, if I say so myself.
Yeah.
The problems I have with the movie aren't necessarily pacing problems.
Sure.
There, like, maybe there's a small one in there, you know what I mean, towards the end, but I think the main grievances I have, which aren't, you know, big grievances, are indeed are not for the pacing. I think people are, when they watch something like Joker, they might not like the pacing as much, right? Joker is kind of a slow burn kind of movie.
For sure. It's definitely a slow burn. It doesn't have these huge action sequences. The movie was made for $55 million, so it's not this $200 million huge blockbuster like Hobbs and Shaw was. So I think you have a good point there. I mean, now that we're talking about numbers, I do want to, you know, sort of look back at the box office. As we're recording this, the official box office numbers have come out. Domestically, Joker officially now has the biggest October opening weekend of all time, sitting at 93.5 million between Thursday night preview screenings and Sunday. I actually think it's gone up to 96 million since this morning. More accurate projections of that box office has come out. That has surpassed Venom, which came out last October.
Wow.
Which is a PG-13 movie, right? And Venom was a bit of a surprise. How is it that a rated R movie, one that's, you know, obviously garnered so much controversy, has even surpassed like Venom, which, I mean, I think you make a good point about pacing in movies and what people want to see. Like, Venom is not a serious movie by any means. I don't think it's a great film, but I don't think you can deny that there's fun to be had.
Yeah, it's a very fun movie.
Very fun movie. Good rewatchability. Like, if you just want to throw something on and not think about it. So
Tom Hardy, star power.
Yeah, that star power. So I think it has a lot of stuff working for it. However, Joker has managed to surpass it quite significantly. I'm you know, curious to hear your thoughts. Like, why do you think that is with the box office?
You know, that's actually kind of hard to say. It could be one of those popularity things. One, I think Venom did amazing because of its popularity, right? Venom as a character's popularity. People love Venom. People love the idea of Venom being this dark monster that eats people.
Just
like,
disgusting,
you know what I mean?
gritty,
Gritty,
slimy.
And people were excited to finally see that on the big screen that we had been waiting for so long. And I also think that the reason Joker might have surpassed it is the controversy. One, it's already a beloved character. The last Joker we had was, man.
Wasn't quite it.
Yeah, it was like, whew, this is a little rough, right? But again, it's such a beloved character as well on top of Venom, right? Like, Joker, if you could easily argue Joker is way more popular than Venom.
Oh, 100%.
100%, right?
Yeah,
so I think him getting his own movie is part of the reason why it is better, or not better, which it is better, but
that too.
It got better numbers.
Got you. I mean, it seems like we might be living in a time of supervillains now instead of superheroes.
Which is interesting. That's happening in comics right now. DC's doing the Year of the Villain comics.
The Year of the
right
Villains,
yeah.
Very interesting.
I thought that was interesting.
Popular storyline, but it seems like it's really catching fire.
Yeah.
$234 million globally.
Wow.
That does not include China. The movie will probably not open in China because China. So the violence
China
is,
you know,
that's a thing. So
that's wild in 3 days though.
That's a lot of money. I mean, again, the movie was made for $55 million. That doesn't include marketing. I mean, with marketing, you probably add on another, I would say, anywhere between 90 and 100.
Which they beasted. I'm not mad at it all.
Yeah, they
murdered the beast.
They did an incredible job.
Yeah,
I mean,
did.
Everything was just phenomenal.
Great marketing.
But even now, I think they are nearly at the point of turning a profit already within the first
and the movie's marketed itself.
Yeah, exactly. Like you mentioned, the controversy is there, word of mouth, the popularity of the character. I mean, Joker is arguably one of the most iconic villains, not even just in comic book history, just pop culture
of all time.
of all time. I mean, you got Darth Vader, you got the Joker, and I don't even know who else after that, right?
Like Magneto.
I mean, Thanos has some current impact.
And that just happened.
Yeah, that just happened.
People just figure out who he was.
Yeah. He'll probably have long-lasting impact because of what, Marvel Studios were able to do. But anyway, Joker is up there in a class of his own. But with all of that said, we just wanted to give that brief background with just like what critics and fans are saying versus also what the reaction is. But with that said, man, let's dive into the movie.
Let's get it.
Let's just get into it. What we're going to do is we're going to start off and give our non-spoiler thoughts about the movie. So for those who have not seen it, these first few minutes, you can still listen and, just sort of hear what our feedback is. We won't go into any plot elements. We're going to talk vaguely about what we thought about the movie, the different elements involved in the movie, between the cast and the direction and things like that. And then we will go into full spoiler territory. We will be unpacking plot elements and things that happened in the movie. So if you have not seen it yet, just fast forward, to another part in the podcast. We'll put in timestamps to let you know when that's over. But definitely go see the movie as soon as possible and then come back and listen to that spoiler section. So with that said, Joker. Let's hear it, man. What are your initial reactions to the movie? Joker, Todd Phillips, Joaquin Phoenix, this latest movie from DC to hit theaters. Let's hear your first reactions.
Boy, oh boy. First reactions. First of all, Oscars for everyone.
Just give out the gold trophies, right?
Like Oprah, you get an Oscar. You get an Oscar. Everybody get an Oscar.
She got nothing to do with the movie, but she could just get one.
Look under your seat. There's an Oscar. Okay. But again, what patience from Todd Phillips as a director here, who did everything in his power to make sure he did what he wanted to do, versus, he didn't let Warner Brothers control him too much, if at all. Honestly, it was like, we're using your character, and that's it. That's
about it. That's where it stops.
We're using your character, and that's about it. And again, I appreciate that specifically because they're having movies in the past where directors wanted to do certain things, but studios didn't let them. Specifically, I'm thinking of Taika Waititi. With Jojo Rabbit that's about to come out.
Oh yeah.
A lot of early screenings of that. People say it's a good movie, but a lot of people had this feeling that Taika had to hold back a little bit.
Interesting.
Because of what he was doing in the movie, and which is crazy. The beginning of the trailer literally says it's a satire.
Yeah.
Which first of all, you shouldn't have to say it's satire.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to.
That's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, and I just believe Todd Phillips again actually took his time to do this character correctly. Him combined with the genius of Joaquin Phoenix, who has never touched a screen and it go wrong.
That's true.
Like,
man, it's pretty flawless when it comes to acting.
Yeah, he don't, and he chooses his scripts, very specifically. And that being said, he did a phenomenal, just a phenomenal job, and that's why I say Oscars for everyone.
True.
Yeah, they did that.
Man, I can't help but agree. I think if I'm gonna dive into the movie, I mean, there's so much to unpack about it. I honestly loved this movie. I loved so many things about it. From the influences that Todd Phillips pulled from.
Yeah.
This movie is very inspired by Martin Scorsese movies.
Yes.
Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy, to mention. It's no mistake that they are inspired by that. It makes no attempts to shy away from that.
Yeah.
And I really did appreciate how much of that he infused in the movie. A lot of that spirit of those movies. The time that it was set in was very much specific, and you cannot confuse that 1981 with any other time period. Like, that was a very specific and intentional choice.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Joaquin Phoenix, he's just the guy is just on another level when it comes to acting. I mean, just what he brought to the performance, the physicality of the performance, like every little thing that he did, from the laugh that he decided to create with the Joker,
crazy,
and the pain that was associated with the laugh.
Yeah.
From even the way that he would run. If you've seen the trailers, you've seen the way that he runs, and it's
so good.
It's so good, and it's
so
such an intentional choice because the way he runs is clown-like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Silly.
Even when he doesn't have on the costume and he has on these big goofy shoes.
Yeah. It's just him, but it's still so silly.
But I mean, and the way that it manages to pull off the tone and the atmosphere of the movie too. Yeah. From the opening scene of the movie, there is an atmosphere that's created, and it does not shake at all throughout the entire 2-hour runtime. It is there, you feel it, and I think along the way, the score also helps you. Also helps you along with that journey because
I downloaded it.
I encourage everybody to download and listen to it because it's such beautiful music.
Fire.
It's such beautiful music, and just like the pieces that come in and when they come in, you know, at certain points in the movie, I mean, just brilliant work.
Just amazing.
And then of course, you know, cinematography again. If you've seen the trailer, you get a sense of it, but. I mean, Todd Phillips and whoever his DP is, they just took it to another level.
They murdered it.
I mean, just the color palette.
Oh, man. Costumes.
Production design, set design, all those things. Like, technically, it's a pretty elite movie on a technical level.
Y'all did that,
right? And I mean, it doesn't really look like any other superhero movie either.
No.
Like, it's not necessarily void of color, but it has a different sense of what that looks like. It uses color in a different way, right? It uses the environment in a different way. And because it costs $55 million, there's not like really VFX in it. There's not visual effects there.
Yeah. You know, like usually when you think of a period piece in a movie and you think of color, you think of saturation, but it wasn't saturation. It was like.
But it wasn't muted. It wasn't muted either. It was almost. I mean, for lack of a better term, it might have just been the most natural colors.
That's natural colors.
You know, they filmed a lot of the movie in New York and New Jersey, which is very apparent in the movie. You can see real locations. A lot of it was filmed in the Bronx, uptown in Washington Heights. Shout out Washington Heights. You know, really good locations like that really bring alive like that element of Gotham and what they were trying to establish with that. And you feel it, man. I mean, I would say go see this movie on the biggest screen possible because just even visually, it looks extraordinary.
If you're able to go see it at IMAX, go to IMAX. If you're like teeter-tottering, is it worth IMAX? You got to go to the IMAX screen like ASAP.
100%. Like, definitely recommend. So, I mean, like, all of that stuff about the movie is just, like, brilliant. And, you know, again, just to kind of circle back to, like, what Joaquin was able to bring to the character. I mean, we've never seen a Joker like this, man.
So Joaquin is a beast within himself where he lost how much?
Oh, my God.
How many pounds?
I think it was 52 pounds.
52 pounds in like 2 to 3 months or something insane.
A really short amount of
which
time.
Which was actually, they said, one, it was very unhealthy for him.
Yeah.
And two, they said it actually affected the way he thought.
Wow.
It actually affected his mental health a little bit.
Well, shit.
Yeah, they said he lost so much weight it actually affected his mental health a little bit.
If I lost 52 pounds in a couple of months, listen.
That is.
I don't know what I would do. So that, I mean, yeah.
He's just hangry all the damn time.
Literally, you just like, man, I need something to eat.
You just know he's pissed all day.
Yeah, I mean the lengths that he was willing to go to pull that off. I mean, and you could tell when you open up the movie and you see him, like
there is no stomach.
Yeah, no, not at all.
It goes chest, ribs, waist.
I see bones everywhere. Nothing but bones.
It just skips the stomach. Chest, ribs, waist.
It's just waist. And I'm like, how do you fit any pair of pants, right? There's a moment in there we got to talk about.
Yeah, we're gonna talk
about his clothes, but yeah. I mean, he just what he did is just it's crazy. I mean, he's truly. I think he's truly in an elite class. I think he's one of the best actors in the world.
And which is crazy because his resume is not big.
It's not. He's not done a laundry list of movies.
I've seen maybe 3.5 Joaquin Phoenix movies, and they're just good.
Yeah,
and again, part of that is because he's very selective about his scripts,
for sure.
Which a lot of actors, oh boy, we can talk about that some other time. A lot of great actors are still good actors. They just pick the worst movies to act in, and Joaquin doesn't do that. Joaquin always picks a movie that he knows is going to challenge him over and over.
That's true.
And that's what I think that's by itself what makes him elite, because a lot of people don't do that.
And you talked about patience. I think he also exhibits a
lot of patience,
huge level of patience. He also had to be convinced to do this movie. He was not
true.
He was not on board for this, and Todd Phillips was like,
I had to sit him down and tell him what it was going to be.
Yeah,
which makes sense, right? When somebody sits you down and tell you, I'm about to make a Joker movie, you know he had what everyone else thought it was going to be, right?
Right.
He's like, oh, Joker. You mean like Mark Hamill,
silly clown, you know, with laughing gas.
Yeah, or he could have been like, I liked Heath Ledger's performance. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He could have been like that too. Like, I'm not sure I want to even touch that.
Yeah.
But
him and Heath were close, you know, when he was alive. So that's a good point too. I mean, it's a lot of layers to it, man. I think overall, just like that pairing, what they did is just something. It's really remarkable. And you know, for the comic book movie genre, which is, I think, continuously evolving, and obviously we're living in a golden era of what these movies are. Now we have a movie like Joker, which is unlike anything else.
Oh, boy.
I mean, probably the closest comparison I think at this point is Logan, but even comparing it to that is not.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense because they are two totally different movies.
They are, but I see what you're saying, though.
Yeah, I think it's just like the maturity level,
Yeah,
right?
maturity
But
level.
it's not. I mean, even saying the word comic book movie is, I mean, it's probably only that because of the fact that it's the Joker, right? And there are a couple of things in the movie that allude to comic book things, but beyond that, I mean, this is something different. It's just something else, right? And they decided to take a unique take on it, and I really appreciated that about the movie, that it's something we haven't seen before. And you know, if we wanted to see a Joker origin story, I mean, we can look at things for that. We can look at the Killing Joker. We can look at, you know, Batman 89 and see different takes on the Joker and how he came about. But to get something different and unique that hadn't been presented before, I really appreciated that.
Yeah, man. Remember I told you when we left the theater, I said they really just should have named this movie Arthur.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what they should have named it.
Yeah.
But again, like we said, marketing probably would have got in the way of
Warner Brothers.
They'd be like, everybody can be like, what the hell is Arthur?
Like, we're not doing that.
Yeah, they said we're not doing that.
Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, overall, I think it's safe to say we both love this movie. Now, what, you know, as we sort of wrap up like the non-spoiler thoughts before we get into spoiler territory, what do you think? You know, sort of fans of superhero movies, or even non-fans, like, if you're not accustomed, let me throw it to you this way. If you're not accustomed to seeing superhero movies, like if that's not something you regularly do, maybe you've seen, you know, the big ones, you've seen your Avengers movies, right, or you know, you've seen your, you know, big superhero team up movies, but you don't see these on the regular like we do. For somebody going to see Joker, what would you say to them before they go into the movie? What is there some sort of, like, not a warning per se, but what would you say to them, like, this is what you should expect, or this is what you should not expect, or this is the type of experience you're going to get, and it's going to be different than what you probably are used to?
Oh, so my tagline has been, don't take kids. Because apparently somebody's mama was dumb enough to take her son to go see Joker, this rated R movie, and then she complained about it.
Wow.
Whatever that was about.
Please do your research.
Don't go take your kids.
That's why we have ratings.
I am going to call this a warning a little bit. You know, this is a really sensitive movie, I believe. So I'm going to tell people to go into the movie, one, with an open mind, as you should every movie. Always go into every movie with an open mind. But also, I would tell people to put your seatbelt on, because it gets crazy.
Strap in.
But also, remember, this movie is saying something. And attached to those things. Remember that this movie is saying something attached to those things. It really is a movie that can mess with your mind. It's, when you leave the theater, it's one of the movies that you're going to be thinking about things that actually happened in the movie that pertain to real life. It's both unrealistic and realistic, and it's the realistic parts that you're going to grasp onto. And I think that's my warning for people. It does deal with a lot of mental health, and
Man, yeah, I think that's very well said, man. That's perfect. That's more than I think most people would get going into it. So the fact that, you know, you can provide that to somebody and let them know like what it's going to be, very good stuff. I mean, and you bring in mental illness, so that's a great point to transition. again, if you have not seen the movie, we are going to get into our our spoiler section of the movie and talk about all things related to the plot, different things that happened, the ending, of course. So if you don't want to hear about any of this, like I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the episode, go ahead and either fast forward to the next topic or just, pause, go see the movie and just come back to this later on. But we are going to dive right into spoiler filled thoughts. I will give you a quick second to take a pause before we get into it. Okay. Spoilers for Joker. So you mentioned mental illness.
Oh boy.
That is a defining aspect of this movie, if not the most defining theme of this movie, right? So we learn very early in the movie that Arthur, the main character played by Joaquin Phoenix, he suffers from mental illness, right?
Yes.
And we learn eventually as the movie progresses that his mental illness is possibly, two parts. It might be hereditary. There might be a connection because of what happens with his mother, but there also might be some damage inflicted on his brain from just trauma. We find out that he was abused as a child.
Wow.
Which is very disturbing and, just crazy to find out.
Just imagine being beaten into a mental illness, and to add another layer, you were beaten into mental illness by your mother's boyfriend.
Yeah. That's crazy, right?
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
And we find out that the condition that he ends up suffering from I don't remember the term for it, but it's what causes his uncontrollable laughter, right? He suffers from a condition that causes uncontrollable laughter that he seriously can't control. So he sometimes laughs at really awkward times, right, that you normally wouldn't laugh, but he can't control it, and he carries around this card to sort of let people know that he has this condition, and to just let them know, like, this is not to be rude, but this is what I suffer from. And so we, really early on, we get a sense of that a couple of times, and we start to see the story, start to take shape. I mean, opening up with the movie, he meets with his therapist and
social worker.
Excuse me. Yeah, he meets with the social worker, and they're going over just his medication routine and things like that. And we see that Gotham City is in a state of decay. They got super rats crawling around the place. These humongous ass rats. Now I tell you, we live here in New York. We've seen rats, but I tell you, when you go see this movie and you see the rats in this movie, unreal.
Just big for no reason.
And he also works part-time as like this clown, that like dances on the sidewalk.
Yeah, it seemed like a clown licensing service.
Something like that.
It seemed like businesses hire them to do things.
Yeah, exactly. Because he performed at several different locations, right? Like a children's sort of home, situation. So but really, I mean, say all that to say, like, Arthur is, he's an outcast, right?
Yeah.
He's not considered normal by many people. He's not treated very well by a lot of people. He gets fired from his job.
Oh boy.
Right? For a situation that wasn't even his fault. He got his sign taken from him, and his boss fires him really without explanation. And I thought one of the best parts of the movie, it's such a subtle part, but when he's talking to his boss right before, when he's talking about the situation with the sign and how it got stolen and all of this, and Arthur just responded, "Why would I steal a sign?"
No, but really though.
And the genuine reaction on his face, like, why would I do that? And his boss did not take the time to hear him out or care about it.
I was like, what an asshole.
Crazy, right? And we also find out that his services are cut due to government funding.
Yep. So no more social worker, which means no more medicine.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of cases, your social worker has to sign off on you in order to get your medication. And oh boy.
Yeah, that things take a turn there.
That's really the part of the movie where everything goes off the hinges.
That's true. I mean, it really sort of takes a very sharp turn after that point when he no longer has access to his medication, which is, I mean, that's something that's really happened before, right? Like these things have actually happened to people who they depend on these, government funded programs to provide them the care or medication that they need. And for whatever reason, funding might get cut or reallocated to somewhere else. And now all of a sudden, what are you left to do?
Right.
What happens to that person, right? How are they to care for themselves or to take care of, whatever condition they have? But we see quickly that him actually not having his medication actually ends up playing a little bit differently than probably most people would expect. But I think the big thing that I want to talk about in terms of just like spoilers with the movie, there's a couple of big reveals, right? So early in the movie, we're presented with the idea that Thomas Wayne is Arthur's father.
Yes.
Which, as we were watching it, I was thinking like, well, damn, this is interesting.
Yeah, I was like, where are you going here, Todd Phillips?
Yeah, I was like, are they really going to make Joker and Bruce Wayne half brothers?
Because they will break the DC universe.
Oh, yeah. Everything would have changed by then. But, I mean, obviously we see as the movie progresses, eventually that's undone. But, I mean, what did you think about that? Them sort of introducing that curveball. And, I mean, what if they stuck with that idea?
Honestly, out of all the storylines out of the movie, this was the one that probably docked a couple points for me because it just didn't feel, I don't know, it didn't feel right. I don't know how to explain that. I know it's really, really weird sounding, but it was, I don't know, it just felt kind of eerie. Like, is this what we're spending our time on? I don't know. It felt like we were kind of forcing Thomas Wayne into the picture just a little bit.
Okay.
Versus... Yeah.
So you were glad that they, basically they undid that.
Yeah, I was I was very glad.
Yeah.
And that honestly could have been the comic book fan in me, because part of the greatness of Joker, part of the reason I've always liked Joker is because this idea that he has no backstory.
Yeah.
Like this dude came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And now he's just this, killing genius machine of, known as the Joker. And that's always been one of the favorite things I grasp onto, and I kind of like that disconnection from Batman, because then I don't want to it'll make it a family affair, and I kind of don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
And so that's how I feel about that.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point that you bring up too, that he's never really had a backstory, and the movie sort of reinforces that to an extent. I mean, we definitely know more about the person, but we find out the other big plot point that was kind of a bit of a twist. His mother actually suffers from mental illness also. She has delusional thoughts. So a lot of the things that she thinks or imagines, they don't tend to always be true or reliable. And so we're led to believe that Thomas Wayne is Arthur's father, but in fact, as the story progresses, we see that that's not the case, and that she just made this up, right?
Yeah.
And so Arthur suffers from this a bit as well, but we find out that he's adopted. We don't know who his parents are. So again, it reinforces just this fact of like, we don't know where he comes from. Arthur can't be his real name.
Right.
He probably never even got a real name, right?
Yeah, so I guess that's it.
Yeah,
that's the one.
He was
as close as he can get.
That's as close as he can get. He was abandoned as a child. And, he, like you mentioned earlier, he was beaten by his mother's boyfriend, tied to a radiator, really heinous things. And
especially when you add the adopted thing, that's like a whole nother... Goodness,
it's just
a whole nother ballgame.
Yeah, it's just sick. But I mean, when he finds that information out,
yeah,
the story just goes in full gear. I think that moment is when the third act kicked in, when he finds out that information.
That's the third act, when he was in the rain.
Yeah, and things kick in a high gear, and we see very quickly a transformation happen with Arthur and his character, and we start to see. Slowly but surely, he turns full-fledged Joker. He kills his mother. He kills Penny.
Yep.
She's in the hospital, and he suffocates her under a pillow. And then we find out that what we thought was a love interest in the movie, played by Zazie Beetz, who is his neighbor.
Yeah.
We saw interactions with them throughout the movie, and for a second, we thought that they were actually an item, and they were seeing each other, and like. She was around him. She was supporting him while his mother was in the hospital, and they went on dates. And it all happened kind of fast. And I ain't gonna lie, when I was sitting there, I'm like, it's kind of weird how.
Yeah, I was like, did I miss something?
Yeah, like there was just that one moment when he burst into her door after he killed those people on the subway.
Oh man, and just started getting it on.
Yeah, they started just like getting it in, and like
I told you, my confusion with that was like. Where's the daughter?
Yeah.
Like, that was the first thought I had as soon as that scene happened. I was like, this don't feel right.
Like, where that girl
Because what? She sleep? She don't hear that?
It was way too late. She was not a daycare.
She don't hear that?
She was not a no babysitter.
I'm like, Zazie looks like too good of a mother to be hearing her moaning in the other room.
You're right. Exactly. Hearing that bed frame hitting up against that wall.
Right.
Yeah.
I said, what?
I mean, we find out that he that was not real. Those were delusions. Those were, I mean, essentially not hallucinations, but he envisioned that. He imagined those things.
And it's like he what he wanted to happen.
Exactly.
In his head was happening.
Yeah. It was his own narrative, right, that he created for himself. He saw this, really attractive woman that he used to see in the elevator occasionally, didn't speak too much, and in his mind he just envisioned this, beautiful relationship and sticking around with her. And so we just start to see all of this unfold, and it just barrels towards the end of the movie. Robert De Niro's character is playing a TV talk show host, which is not ironic at all if you've seen The King of Comedy. This is a very intentional choice. He's playing a late night TV talk show host, in the vein of The Tonight Show.
Murray.
And so essentially what happens is he invites Arthur, onto the show after his tape from a comedy club circulated, in which Arthur, I would say, bombed. Right?
He definitely bombed.
Yeah, he got up there and just started.
Imagine you're a comedian and you get up on stage and you start laughing, but there was no punchline.
There was no punchline. The joke had not even been delivered.
There was no joke, and
you're just laughing.
And then when the joke finally did come out, it was the worst thing you'd ever heard.
Oh, it was terrible, right?
It was so bad.
And he had his material written in his notebook.
Yeah.
But essentially, this video circulates from that performance, and Murray, played by De Niro, decides to invite him on the talk show. I guess because they think it'd be good publicity. They probably just want to make fun of him, poke fun of him a little bit more. Right. And so we just barrel toward the end of the movie, and Joker has made a full transformation, I should say, at this point. He has the suit, he has the makeup, and he has the mindset, right? And he goes on this talk show, and shit just goes crazy from there.
It's the fan.
It's probably the most pivotal scene in the movie.
Crazy.
And what I will say about that scene, so when he goes on the talk show and he sits down, it's an obvious nod to what happened in The Dark Knight Returns. He went on a talk show, similar situation.
The circumstances were way different.
Well, it's way completely different.
Way different circumstances.
But the setting and like what they were going for was in the same spirit of that. But I liked what the end result was. The only thing that I didn't like about that particular scene, where I think it kind of lost points for me, Arthur, he goes on this rant almost about why he killed those three guys on the subway, which has started this movement across Gotham. It's like this movement of the common civilian against the rich, the 1%, right? And he kills these three people on the subway, and somebody identified that it was a clown or somebody with clown makeup, and that sparks this movement. People start wearing clown masks, and he basically goes on this exposition rant explaining why he did it and why he feels the way he feels. And that kind of docked a few points for me, because I'm like, do you really need to tell us everything? I feel like we can get it, right? I feel like enough actions have been carried out through the movie that would show us why you feel the way you feel.
Right.
We see that you're a part of the forgotten community. We see you're the other guy. We see that you're the outcast. And so him sort of explaining all of that in that moment right before he pulled out the pistol to shoot Murray live on television. I was kind of like, damn, I wish he didn't explain it. I wish he just kind of did something a little bit different, a little bit more ambiguous, and just made the move a little bit more sudden, because you can start to see it coming. You can start to see, because they built it up over the movie that he was going to kill himself on the show.
Yeah.
But once you get on the actual talk show, you can sort of see it coming that he's going to pull that gun out and kill
Actually wasn't
Murray.
Sure.
Really?
I think that's why I liked it, because I was like, I don't know. He felt so unstable to me at that point that, one, I knew he wasn't going to kill himself. You're right about that part. But I don't know. I just had no idea what he was going to do. Like, I was like, he could kill Robert De Niro here, but I'm like, but why would he do that? And I didn't know until he kept talking, where he was like, and when he was like, Murray, you just like everyone else.
Yeah.
And then maybe at that point, but I was already close to the end of his speech, right? True. And so I think I'd like that build up, actually, me personally.
Yeah. That's a good point. I mean, from there, after that happens, chaos, right? He gets arrested, apprehended, and he's put in a police vehicle, and you can just see chaos across Gotham.
Starts all riots all over.
Riots, looting, everything, just violence everywhere, right? They're starting fires, or everything is just happening. It's an uprising almost happening in Gotham, and you see Arthur is, in the backseat of the police vehicle. He sees the work that he's done, right? He sees that he has sparked something. And eventually we also see that Thomas and Martha Wayne are killed yet again on screen. God damn.
I was okay with it this time.
How many times are we going to see this man's parents die?
I was all right with it this time.
I was too.
They changed Martha's hair. She was a blondie this time.
They gave but they kept the pearls though. They kept the pearls.
You gotta keep the pearls.
Yeah, the pearls are kind of iconic. Yeah, man, I'm starting to feel like it's my parents getting shot every single time. I'm like, man, how many times do I gotta suffer through this?
Damn, am I Batman?
Yeah, like we at some point we're gonna have to count how many times we've seen his parents die.
It's about to be a countdown for the best times.
The top 10 times that Bruce Wayne's parents have been shot in cold blood. But essentially, we see that insinuates that Joker didn't directly kill his parents, but he's responsible for it, right?
Right.
He's responsible for Bruce Wayne's parents' deaths.
In another timeline, that was the case where the source material said that Joker was the person that killed Batman's parents.
Right, exactly.
But,
so there's a connection there, right?
Yeah.
There are a couple of connections, to different Batman and Joker comics. And so, essentially, some of his followers, they bring him out of the police vehicle. They lay him on top of the police car. He gets up and everybody's chanting and, sort of in his presence, just, sort of.
Again, just chaos. Everyone's rioting. People got smoke bombs.
It's just everything, right? It's just pure chaos. And then, one last iconic, sort of shot we see. He takes the internal injuries he suffered, the blood in his mouth, and he makes a smile across his face with the blood. And it's a scary, frightening image.
It's so great.
It was
so cool.
So well done.
So well done.
It has so many implications of what he's to
become. That's
right?
what makes it art.
Yeah. And then the movie, it ends on one more scene. He's sitting in a psychiatric hospital, talking to a new social worker, and he's just laughing again, but it's not the same laugh. It's not the painful laugh that we saw at the beginning of the movie.
It's a little more joyous this time. It's almost like this time he's laughing on purpose.
Yeah, he wants to laugh.
Yeah, he wants to laugh this time.
Yeah, and the social worker, she asks him, what's so funny? And he says, oh, I was just thinking of a joke. And she asks, like, well, do you want to tell it to me? And then he just looks at the camera, or not at the camera, but he looks at her. It's a close-up of Joaquin, and he says, you wouldn't get it. And that
great camera work right there
was
too.
Such a great line.
What a great line.
Just a great line and excellently delivered. I love that. You just wouldn't get it.
So good.
And also in that moment, we saw a quick shot of Bruce Wayne standing over his dead parents.
Oh, yeah.
That, happened at the same time. So it makes you wonder, is that what he was laughing about?
Right.
Was he laughing at the fact that he probably knows that he caused the death of Thomas?
I think that's exactly what he's laughing about. This whole, it's just full circle, right?
Right.
Full circle where even if his mom was crazy, I think he just is like, this dude is an asshole.
Right. Because he met him earlier in the movie and it was a terrible exchange.
Yeah, he's like, this dude is an asshole. And then his actions get Thomas Wayne killed. Yeah. And that's just like.
And knowing Joker, he probably also knows this is going to make that child, Bruce Wayne, want revenge.
Yeah.
This is going to make him want to do something about this.
That's crazy.
He's going to grow up an orphan. I know he's going to come back for me.
Yeah. In some ways, searching for the answers the same way that Arthur was searching for answers the entire movie.
Yeah. Like his purpose in life. And by this point, he's completely liberated of what he went through at the beginning and the middle of the movie. He has completely transformed into the Joker.
Right.
He understands who he is now. He understands. I mean, that one line that's delivered, we heard it in the trailer. It's delivered in the movie right before he killed his mother. All my life, I thought, my life was a tragedy, but now I realize it's a comedy.
Wow.
Right. And that's the moment where it's like,
snap.
It changes from there on out.
He snaps. That's Joker.
He becomes a Joker.
Arthur to Joker.
Yeah.
There is no Arthur anymore.
Yeah. He's gone. He's dead and buried and he becomes a Joker. And that's kind of how the movie ends. We see that he kills the social worker. He walks out and there's, blood on his feet and he leaves, footprints with her blood. He either killed her or she's very badly injured.
Yeah, one of the two.
Yeah, and then he gets chased by one of the people in the hospital.
Yeah,
and
very Charlie Chaplin like.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's the end of the movie. And
the end.
Yeah, a really surreal experience, I would say, both times. And I would say the second time I saw it, I loved it even more.
Even more.
Yeah.
Because I actually don't feel like you can grasp everything, or you can grasp everything. I guess take in the brilliance of the movie off of one showing. Like, you have to see it twice in order to catch certain things you didn't catch the first time, just in the way the movie is made. I feel like you that second showing is very important.
Yeah, 100%. I would agree. Before we wrap this up, with our thoughts on Joker in the movie, the one, or I guess the two questions that I want to sort of address and ask you. One, and you touched on this a little bit earlier, Oscar chances. How high? How low? Will Joaquin get Best Actor nomination? Will he win? Direction, Best Picture. What do you think are the chances?
I think all these things are actually on the table, because even though comic books haven't got as much love in the past, I think, which we'll talk about later, this movie is more. It's more something that Academy can attach onto, versus like disrespecting other superhero films, where this movie feels very Academy-ish, I guess is the word. You know what I mean? It's so artsy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's so many parts of the film that they're going to watch and be like, no, this is it. This is genius.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I think they'll get tons of nominations. I really do. And even us having this conversation is like, I feel like they're gonna have to think about it, or they're gonna be like, for your consideration, like the first for your consideration is gonna come out.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a reason that it premiered at film festivals, right?
Yeah.
We know that in the era that we live in now, Academy Awards really latch on to, sort of the film festival darlings that sort of circulate. So there's a reason that I mean, very intentional and strategic choice on the part of Warner Brothers to premiere it at Venice Film Festival, premiere it at Toronto International Film Festival. Those are the festivals that typically have those movies that get that recognition.
Yeah, because you know how Sundance will like have a movie that no one's ever seen,
right?
But if it does so good at Sundance, they'll put it in theaters.
Yeah,
and like that happened to like Fruitvale Station, and you know what I mean. And this movie feels like one of those.
Absolutely.
Like, it feels like it was at some artsy Sundance Film Festival or something, and it did so well they put it in theaters.
Yeah,
like, that's kind of what it feels like. And yeah,
absolutely. I agree. And the sort of the last thing to wrap up with, sequel chances. Will another one of these get made? Will Joaquin come back? Will they continue the story? Do you think that's possible, or is this a one-off experiment, just a one-time sort of Elseworlds, like nothing like it? We'll see it one time and that's it.
So Todd Phillips kept saying no to this, because so many people, especially people who had seen the movie early, was like, so what about that sequel though? Or projected numbers are already insane, right?
Yeah.
So they were like, if this movie does well, there's financially makes almost no sense not to do another one.
The business is there.
The business is there. And he said no because he felt like Joaquin would say no, right? Todd Phillips was like, I'm only doing what Joaquin want to do. And Joaquin right now feels like a no.
Yeah, that's fair.
And Joaquin never latches on to anybody's universe or anybody's sequel.
All right.
And so I think what I've heard recently is that Joaquin did an interview, and the quote that I seen was, the possibilities with this character is endless. And that intrigues me to what Joaquin is thinking. Like, man, did he watch this movie last week? You know what I mean?
Right.
And was like,
maybe I will do another
this
one.
might be the shit.
Yeah.
Like,
this might be my franchise.
And I think I actually enjoyed this. And yeah, I think, I don't know. It's really hard to say. I think WB is going to be like, why the hell would y'all not do this again? You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
But it's really, I do legit believe it's on Todd Phillips and Joaquin to make that decision.
It'll be an artistic, creative choice, like whether or not they want to do it. Joaquin, maybe 30 pounds instead of 52 next time. Like maybe a little bit of a healthier Joker. You ain't got to go through that again. But yeah, no, I definitely, I don't know either. It's kind of up in the air. I think it'll sort of depend on a lot of different factors, like you mentioned. And I mean, you talked about Joaquin now latching on to franchises and universes. A lot of people forget he was supposed to be Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it's true.
That was a thing, and he didn't want to do it because of the commitment. Yeah. He didn't want to do 4, 5, 6 movies, right, with one character. That's just not the type of actor he is. So
Benedict Cumberbatch fit better anyway.
Not true,
but
it worked out. It all worked out, because if he was Doctor Strange, he would not have been able to.
I think another aspect might be the way people latch onto the controversy for this movie, right? Like, if, I don't know, if something feels too crazy. Like maybe Warner Brothers might not want to do it. You know what I mean? If like they feel like they're getting a bad rap of everything that's happening.
Yeah,
you know,
extra security at theaters.
yeah,
think pieces.
maybe he'll feel like that's a reason for them. You know,
Yeah, it's not
which
worth
is
it.
Man, that's
well, it shouldn't be that way.
It definitely shouldn't be.
Yeah.
First of all, I do got to make a point real quick. First of all,
talk your shit, man.
Movies don't make psychos.
Thank you. Can we establish that? Like,
do I gotta say that again?
Can we make movies, nor video games, nor music, nor any form of entertainment or art
does not make psychos? You cannot blame the artist for what the person indulging the art is thinking, right? So I have no doubt in my mind that at some point in time, I don't know, somebody played a video game and was like, man, I want to go do bad things. I'm sure that's happened, but it's not because of the video game. It's because there's already something planted in you, in your mental, in your psyche,
exactly,
that makes you want to do these things. And so just the media and parents apparently and all these people who feel like Joker is, you know what I mean, is gonna make people do bad things.
Yeah, causing violence.
Yeah,
and stuff like
that's
that.
not it.
Yeah, that's a whole conversation.
Yeah, that's
and
a whole conversation.
It definitely surrounded the movie, but I'm glad you said that because we got to stop doing that. And it you know, that it's almost a never ending thing. It happened for a lot of movies and video games that came out.
And I think the same thing actually happened with Dark Knight.
Oh yeah,
there was people who didn't think Dark Knight was rated right.
Yeah, they thought it was too violent of a comic book. Like it wasn't what they were used to.
Yeah, it wasn't. Nobody was used to it.
Yeah,
this is one of the greatest movies ever.
Right, listen, it holds up, right? So yeah, I agree. All those things. So I guess that's our thoughts on Joker, man. Yeah, like I said, we might go see that movie again because it's that good. Yeah. Again, if you have not seen it, we highly encourage it. I think both of us will recommend the movie, as you can clearly hear. And it's really a phenomenal piece of art.
Oscars for everyone.
We'll definitely see how it plays out over the next few months. I'm sure we will be talking about it again, of course, like if nominations come out for Golden Globes and Oscars and all the big awards and things like that, or further news develops with maybe future sequel potential and things of that nature, we'll certainly be addressing it on Two Black Nerds.
Yeah, if you have any thoughts actually about Joker, please hit us up on Twitter, man. Two Black Nerds.
Absolutely.
Yeah, again, I really want to hear your thoughts, what you have to say. If you have any pullback, if you didn't like the movie, I'm really interested to what you have to say. But again, please let us know.
Yeah, absolutely.